Hey everybody, good evening. This is Crypto Enforcer. I've just started doing videos here for 1x Capital. So just a couple disclaimers here at the beginning, of course. Everything that's going to be discussed today is merely for informational purposes, educational purposes, entertainment, whatever it may be. It's not financial advice. It's important that you all take control of your funds and make some informed decisions on what you do with those. And what I'm really aiming to do is to assist in those positions, but not necessarily give you any advice as to what you should do with your funds that you're investing. So, having said that, I'm going to be looking at a few coins. I've got a few that have been requested by other members of the community, and I've got some others that I want to take a look at based on some market activity here here recently. So, the first one, of course, is the one that's been causing everything to make some major moves, which is Bitcoin. What I want to do is I want to take a look. I'm going to look at the 1 day chart here because what I noticed a couple days ago was we had some major resistance at some key points, and we were able to sort of touch that. And that was right here when we attempted to break 91, 9200 back on March 21st. I know it's kind of hard to see here, so I'll move back to a shorter time frame so that we can see this a little bit better. But you can see that we were we were looking, a lot of us were looking for a major rejection here because we had a rejection previously. And just wanted to take a look at a couple different things. We were looking to see was history going to repeat itself, and it doesn't look like it did. So we had a good run from down here, 7,300, up to about 9,100, 9,200. Looks like that candle closure capped out about 91.74. Then, of course, we hit our major downtrend, and then we actually kind of had a little double top pattern when we tried to breach it again, and was not successful. And we saw us go all the way back down to 6K. A lot of us were thinking this was going to be it. We're going to go down to 5K. Didn't happen. So, of course, we saw this massive bull run that started when we went from 6,800 all the way up to 8,000 in the course of about 15 minutes. I was there to watch it happen, and it was pretty amazing the volume that we had on that day. I'm looking here on GDAX, and that was 8,800 bitcoins were traded in this 2 hour period of time. It was pretty amazing. We hadn't seen that amount of volume in quite a while. And in my opinion, of course, that the only way to sustain a rising price of Bitcoin is that we've got a lot of volume to back it up. Because if there's no volume, then it's really easy for the market to be manipulated. Really easy for buy walls, sell walls to come down to just let the price fly. And I don't know that that's exactly what happened here, because this amount of a run really was needing a lot of volume to allow that to happen. And of course, once we hit this point, we haven't gone all the way down there ever since. So we had a big run up to 8,000. It did kind of settle about 675, 7,600, and actually taking a fib retracement where I had projected us hitting about 10,000. That's sort of where I'm expecting Bitcoin to really meet some major resistance. And you'll see I've got this at 10,200 and 10,219, 10,220, somewhere in that area. We're likely going to see some major resistance at that level. So that fits in with our fib retracement. You see that we were sort of following an uphill trend basically ever since that point. A lot of us think, and we hear this very frequently, the trend is our friend, and so we're seeing the trend moving in the upward direction. And I'm only on the 2 hour chart here, but if you're taking a look at the oscillator, we're seeing that we've really been in a positive momentum really ever since that. We had a couple dips, but it wasn't far enough of a dip down where we had where we really had a lot of negative pressure on the market. The only time we really did was when we were kind of trading sideways here at about 8,300, and we were able to have that price pushed down to about $7,800. And so that was my wave 2 that I'm counting here as my Elliott wave, or a form of it at least. It may not look like a true Elliott wave, but nonetheless, typically we see this 5-wave pattern before we really reach the end, and we're really looking for a big correction. I might make an adjustment here on my projection for level 5, because as you can see, I was seeing this rising wedge pattern that was forming, and we just broke out of it. We broke out of it a few hours ago when we went and we passed through the 9,500 mark. 9,500, of course, was this next level in our fib retracement, and it seems that was right on the money. So now, where are we going with Bitcoin from here? I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to make sure that I get our nice little our rainbow here, so that we can all see this and kind of make some analysis on where we're going. So we're looking for, again, this 10,200 mark. And look at this volume. The volume has really dramatically increased. Again, we're looking at the 1-hour chart. Let me just move the candles out of the way so we can see this. We have a rise in volume, and the volume is just continuing to move up. That's a very, very good sign, because if the market is moving up and the volume is increasing, that really tells us a story that we may see a return to a bull market. But remember, again, going from where we started to where we are now, we're due for a correction. Now, the question, of course, is, where is this correction going to go? Where is this going to lead us? If we continue following this pattern that we have been moving on, we're definitely looking at a bump and run reversal that could potentially be forming. And a bump and run reversal is when we're seeing a nice constant steady growth, right? We see a nice steady growth here, but then all of a sudden there's a spike in that trend. The trend starts to move up faster than what it had been, and of course we know it had been for quite some days now. And so more than likely, when we do reach this resistance point, we're definitely going to see some major corrections that are going to be occurring. So right now, as long as the volume continues to move in the direction that it's moving, and we see more buying volume versus selling volume, I definitely see Bitcoin continuing to move up. Right now, our major resistance level is going to be, support level is going to be right around $9,500. If it falls through 9,500, then we're looking at 9,100. I don't believe that even market manipulators are going to move it below this 9,100 mark for quite some time. And again, the reason why I say that is because looking at the history here on this chart, we're definitely seeing that resistance level, which is now returning to a support level right here, where we had the rejection at $9,100. We saw a good bull that happened here, a cup, if you will, and now this is going to become our major support. So what was previously resistance is now support. So you need to make sure that you are aware that that this level is going to be pretty significant. And actually, if you're looking at this candle, we pretty much hit that level. And I think a lot of us were waiting at that point to see what was going to happen here at 9,200. We saw, a nice triangle forming here, and you can't really see it well on the 1-hour chart. But if we were to zoom in and take a look at that a little bit closer, you would notice that there was a nice ascending wedge or a pennant that was forming, and we see some really good movement there ever since then. Once we broke through it, and again, we watched this happen when it occurred, and we've been really moving up ever since. But watch out for the bump and run reversal. So enough about Bitcoin for the moment. Again, at 9,600, we're really looking for movement up to about 10K, and really be looking for some major resistance to be seen at that level. If we pass through it and there's clear candle closures, I definitely expect volume to just really explode at that point. We're going to see some major support happen at that level if we're able to pass through it. But with the run that we've had, it's been a really good run. I definitely see there's going to be a pretty big correction, probably down to about 9,100 before it recharges and heads back up and tries for 10K again. But at that point, be careful for the double top, and we'll talk about that in a couple days. If and when we get there, we hope we do, of course, see the Bitcoin go up to 10K. So it's something we haven't seen for quite a while. So I'm pretty excited about it. I want to take just a real quick look at Litecoin. Litecoin looks really terrible right now, but a couple things here that we want to see on Litecoin. And mostly, we see the momentum. It's moving downwards. It's moving downwards very, very fast, and a lot of it has to do with the rise in Bitcoin. So when you're looking at altcoins in general, you really have to be careful to look at them with tunnel vision, because when you're trading with altcoins, you really have to look at Bitcoin as well. And we've seen Bitcoin go up. And one thing that I've been saying this for a long time is when Bitcoin goes up, traders are going to just get rid of their altcoins and they're going to go right into Bitcoin and they're going to ride that wave up, because even though a lot of people are interested in their USD value of their altcoins, fact of the matter is right now the goal is to earn Bitcoin. So when the Bitcoin value of your altcoin goes down, not only does your USD value go down, and it will go down more than how when Bitcoin increases. So even though your USD value is close, but it will be less compared to the percentage that Bitcoin goes up, your Bitcoin value is going to be decreasing significantly. But right now, looking at the money flow index, which is sort of a weighted RSI, right now we're seeing this at a level which is pretty low, about 21. And 21 for a weighted RSI is very, very low. Litecoin right now is looking to be at its major support level, which is at 0.165. So, or I guess maybe more specifically 0.1650. If it's able to get down to that point, you might consider taking a small position in Litecoin, because that one is really looking to look for an upswing. And there's a lot of good things that's happening in Litecoin. As far as the news goes, I know that there's a lot of people out there that aren't really they're not really big fans of Charlie Lee and what he's doing. But again, this major downtrend more than likely has a lot to do with the rise in Bitcoin. So I do expect Litecoin to correct back up to the same level that it was here. But for right now, of course, Litecoin looks like a pretty good buy at the moment. We're seeing some volume, not a lot of volume, and any volume that was there is going to be selling volume. Again, when Bitcoin goes up, people are not interested in altcoins anymore. They're more interested in riding the Bitcoin wave. So once Bitcoin stabilizes for a little bit, maybe it'll stabilize here at 9,600 for a while. If it does, that'll be great. But my long-term look at Litecoin was really trying to take it back up to 0.02. Again, that may be a little ways away now that Bitcoin has had a good run. The USD value, of course, of Litecoin really hasn't changed a little bit. I think it's gone down maybe $4 or $5 since Bitcoin took a run. I think it was peaking out at about 164, 165, and I think right now it's sitting about 160, 161. Since it's gone down a little bit, it may be a little lower since then. But I am expecting Litecoin to do a little bit of a recovery here, because it looks like we're getting down to our support level. And so I'm not seeing it go down much further than it is. But keep in mind that that when Bitcoin makes its moves, altcoins are going to bleed. They're going to go down. There are some exceptions to that. Something like Tron that has major news coming up about mainnet releases and things like that. There's going to be some interests that are going to sort of cut against the grain. But just keep in mind that the altcoins likely will recover a little bit, but take profits, right? So one of the other things that I say is, don't be greedy. If you've got something that's going on a massive run, again, what I'll kind of take a look at here is when we saw a big run on Litecoin back, when we saw Bitcoin go all the way down. This was actually at the beginning of December when we had a big spike. You can see whenever there's a big spike in price, a big spike in volume, and again, we saw it down here when Bitcoin did its major dump down to 6K. This was on February 2nd. Litecoin was actually the star of the show in the month of February. You can go back and look if you don't believe me. Litecoin was the major performer, the top performer in all of March. Sorry, all of February. It was able to go down from 0.013 all the way up to 0.025, or almost to 0.025. But anytime you see massive spikes in volume, you definitely need to recognize when the run is out of steam and when that run is going to reverse, because when it reverses, it usually reverses in a big way. And I know a lot of people are really interested in taking as much profit as they can, so they decide to, take the hold mentality. Well, people that sold at people that didn't sell at 0.025 and waited for this dump down here to 0.013, think about that for a little bit. If you were to have sold at 0.025, right? And let's say that you had 100 Litecoin at 0.025. So that's 2.5 Bitcoin that you would have been able to earn here at the 0.025 level. So that's 2.5 Bitcoin if you had 100 Litecoin that you sold. If you were to take that 2.5 Bitcoin and purchase on one of these dips, any one of these dips, think about what you would have been able to accumulate. So we're talking, a price difference here, and just think about this. So the price went from 0.025 down to 0.013, right? So that's a 46% decrease, almost half, right? So think about that. That 100 Litecoin would now turn into about 180, 190 Litecoin that you would have accumulated. So when you see the price increase dramatically, get out, right? You get out and you wait for the correction to occur. And typically on big runs like this, you definitely you're looking for the three dives before it starts to recover. And typically there's, after huge spikes, you definitely see these downward channels start to appear. You're going to see these downward channels appear, and it's going to follow them. Sometimes they look like wedges, sometimes they look like down channels. Whatever the pattern is, it looks like this is about right because it bottomed out about right here. So we saw the major increase. We see this flag pattern that's occurring before it starts to recover again. So you're definitely waiting for the outbreak. So even if you didn't play the market perfect, you didn't buy in at 0.013, you waited for the outbreak, which happened right here, approximately 0.016, you're still increasing from 100 Litecoin to about 150 Litecoin. So that's significant. A 50-unit increase on Litecoin just by playing the Litecoin Bitcoin game. 50 Litecoin right now, we're talking that's 800. No, I'm not doing the math right. I can't think on my feet right now. But extra 50 Litecoin, that's a significant amount of money. It's $8,000 is what it is approximately, is according to the price of Litecoin right now, based on USD value. So you're increasing in a major way. So I want to take a look at one that actually has been doing pretty well today, which is Tron. I've been following Tron for a long time, as you can see here. I've got different retracements based on different runs that we have seen. Of course, this is another prime example of what I was talking about just a minute ago. When you see this massive run all the way up to the top, this happened to Tron, this happened to Verge, this happened to Cardano. Whenever that happens, you see that massive spike. You need to be able to recognize when that run is out of steam and when it's going to start its massive correction. Now, we know that Tron was botted to death by somebody that had, millions and millions of Tron, was just continually just sending funds to exchanges for the purpose of doing nothing more than suppressing the price of Tron. You know, if you were able to get in down here at 40 Satoshis or less, that's fantastic. You are still, even if you kept that hold mentality, you're still doing very, very well. Tron went through a couple squeezes, and I use the TTM squeeze indicator quite a bit because, you know, I like looking at the momentum oscillator. It gives me a good idea of where things are going to go. I like to look at things from a high level perspective, look at things from the big picture, right? So that's where you're really going to, you know, get a really good idea for where things are really moving. So what I want to do is I want to take a look here at what Tron is actually doing right now. So I was able to personally accumulate some Tron after it was able to get down. I accumulated about 325. You know, of course, 314. This very, very low level would have been great, but you know, I was able to accumulate this. And you know, when I talk about, you know, taking profits at the right time, I was able to get out at 675. So it was approximately right here where I was able to get out. And yes, the price is at 791. Do I hate myself for not getting back in when it dipped down here to the 481, 500 level? And actually, to be honest, I did. I did purchase a little bit of Tron at 499, 500, and it was just trading sideways for too long, and I was impatient, and I shouldn't have been. A lot of things that I'll tell you are you need to be patient with the market. As long as you are finding the good positions at the right time, patience is key. Be patient with your holdings because, you know, just because a lot of people think cryptocurrency is, you know, a get-rich-quick scheme, it's not always. Sometimes a little bit of patience goes a long way. You know, I'll give you a really good example. I was able to get into Sia Coin at, you know, approximately 79 Satoshis before it did its huge run back in November, December of last year. And I sold it the day before it made its huge run. Of course, I made some really good profits on it. I made about, I want to say about 100 to 150%. But if I would have waited just another 2 or 3 more days, I would have had some massive, massive gains. But looking at Tron right now on Binance, you know, I'm looking here at the 161.8% fib retracement. You know, we're looking at potentially 850 for being our next level of resistance at the moment. If I'm taking a look at volume, sometimes what I'll do is I'll look at the 1-day chart and I'll look for spikes in volume to find where our next support or resistance levels will be. And right now, we're not really seeing a whole lot of indicators here that match with where the current price is. So if I'm looking here, you know, I would count this as a major resistance level because this is where it was found to have a lot of resistance, but that was at 691, 700. So that's, you know, we're well above that. So again, looking at more historical indicators, we're looking here, which is at 885. So potentially, you know, if we go by the 161.8 fib retracement, 854 is going to be a major resistance level, which is very close to this 885 level. 885 is really going to be where Tron finds its next major resistance level. With all of the news that's coming out with the Tron mainnet, there is a good possibility it's just going to blow right through this. But definitely, you know, just be careful because, you know, Tron is one of those coins that tends to be heavily manipulated. You need to be careful taking positions in any of those. So again, right now, be looking for resistance happening at 850 to 885. If you don't have a position in Tron and it is able to make it through this, that might be a good point to take a look. But that kind of goes against a lot of what I say is, you know, don't buy the rise because, you know, there is a correction that has to be incoming. You know, we've seen it one time, we've seen it 2 times. And now basically we're sort of playing the waves right now. Chances are pretty good if we're taking this current run that we're on right now on Tron, doing an impulse wave starting from this point. We're seeing a 1, 2, and then somewhere up here a 3, and we have to correct at some point. And maybe we're going to correct here to the 695 level before we're able to bust through this 885. This wave 3, I believe that we're currently in. So we're sort of waiting to see what happens. Just a small note on Elliott waves. The main pattern that you want to look at to make sure that you know, it is a true Elliott wave is wave 4 can't fall below wave 1. So we've got a 1, 2 working on wave 3. We're looking for a correction for wave 4. for a recharge before it goes up to wave 5. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be taking profits. You can see it's happening now. You're seeing these shadows on these candles on the upside. When you see these shadows appear, it means that there's more selling pressure than there is buying pressure. And we're on the day chart right now, so this candle doesn't look really good. So this may already be the beginning of our correction. So it may be a couple days where we do see some downward pressure on Tron. So I'm just watching this candle move as we're talking here. And so we're really looking to see how this candle shapes up by the end of the day, because it could be a bearish candle if we do see that that market movement. So if we compare it to what we saw here on the 6th, you know, again, just trying to educate you on some of the different candle structures that we see. You know, we saw this, you know, on this run here. We saw it on this run here. And I don't know, but we might see it on this run here. We'll see how this candle shapes up by the end of the day. So we definitely saw a good run up here to 880 or so. We're seeing it push back down. We're still green, but if it turns red and falls below and turns into a shooting star pattern, we're definitely looking for some downward pressure for a recharge before we move back up a little bit. So keep that in mind when you are when you're looking at taking an entrance into Tron. Just be very careful because you know, very easily it could be you know, it could be manipulated, and you just need to be very careful for those market makers trying to push the price down and taking profits. All right, I was asked to take a look at Block Mason Credit Protocol, so let's just take a look at this. One interesting thing here, of course, we do see that it is being you know, being dumped because of the Bitcoin rise. But take a look at this. Let me get my indicator back here. You know, we saw a major run, right? We saw this major run up here, and you know, we see a you know, somewhat of an Elliott wave or an impulse wave. So we see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This does sort of violate those rules that I was just talking about right here, where we have the wave 4 that really came to this below the level of wave 1. So I don't know that we can call this a true Elliott wave. But definitely, we're looking at a really good formation that's occurring here. If we ignore what's happening due to Bitcoin right now, this is looking like one that could potentially be doing really well. So let's just take a look at this curve here and see where this could potentially be going. So we've got some good activity. I'm going to talk about the squeeze indicator here in a little bit because it looks like this was in a squeeze for a while. So we'll kind of take a look at that. But this could potentially be seeing some additional upward motion before you know, before it does a major correction like it did when it jumped up here to 15,182 or so. So let's take a look at this squeeze indicator because this is one of my favorites. This is one that I like to look at. So I only look at the squeeze indicator on one day chart for the most part. When I do find a coin that's in a squeeze, what I'll do is I'll look at the lower interval charts after the day chart has been to be in a confirmed squeeze. And really what the squeeze indicator is looking for, it does a combination of the Bollinger Bands and the Keltner channels to determine the width between one level and another. And that's what it uses to determine if it's in a squeeze. So if the two levels cross each other for the Keltner channels and the Bollinger Bands, then that'll put it into a little bit of a squeeze. Now, if it's a squeeze when the oscillator is in a rising momentum, and more specifically, if it's in the negative but looking like it's moving positive, that's a really good indicator that you're going to see the price really increase. So let's just take a look and see what happened if we magnify this just a little bit. If we were to take this indicator for what it's worth and we were to actually enter right when this entered a squeeze, you can see that there was some positive momentum occurring, and then the indicator turned red, which a red indicator means that this is in a squeeze. It's a really easy indicator to watch. It's really easy to use. But now we're seeing if we were to have entered at that particular level, and let's take worst case scenario, we did it at the end of the day when that candle closed, we were to be able to make an entry at 52.35, right? So maybe we bought this at 52.35, and you know we're sort of holding it because actually that was a purchase on the low level of this cup that was forming. Now, of course, we saw it go from 52.35 all the way up here to 69.14, 7,000. So, that's an increase of about 50%, maybe a little less than 50, maybe 45%. So, when you see something that has that big of an increase, of course, there's going to be, some corrective action happening here. And we're still early on in this day chart, so we could definitely see some reversals occurring here that'll make this candle look a little bit more like what we saw here on April 21st. I talked a little bit just a minute ago about the shooting star pattern, which this is almost textbook what a shooting star is, where you've got a really long wick at the top, a really, really small body, maybe some shadow down here on the bottom, but the key is you have a long wick up here at the top. That's almost a textbook indicator that it is moving down. It's heading down. So you need to you need to be able to recognize these candles. We saw the price go again from 52 to almost 7K. Now we're seeing it get back down here. I'm definitely seeing our current support level being approximately 59.42. That's where I would currently set a stop loss if it were me. If it gets down below 59.42, chances are pretty good it's going to fall back down to 52.35. We do see the momentum starting to move downward, and usually what I tell people, and again, we're looking at the day indicator, looking at this oscillator, when you purchase something based on the squeeze, you need to follow that squeeze indicator. So when we start to move up, when we hit this peak and we start to see a downward momentum, that's usually where I make my exit. Usually where I'll make my exit, and I'll wait to see when we see the momentum start to pick back up, and that's likely where I would do a re-entry. But you have to be very careful again, because right now Bitcoin, and I'm probably going to sound like a broken record saying this over and over, but with Bitcoin making its rises, I'll just kind of pop back over here and see where it's currently at. And it actually looks like right now we are in corrective mode on Bitcoin. So it's made a major correction here since we've talked, down to 9,500. So it actually, based on the 1 hour chart, we fell through one of the support levels that I thought we had. So this could be signs of a bull trap. I'm definitely looking for some longs that are on BitMEX, Bitfinex, some of those other exchanges. Some longs are going to be liquidated because we are pushing down. We're pushing down really hard here. So this is going to be interesting to watch to see what happens, because yeah, this is actually really surprising. I wasn't expecting a correction this big to occur, but depending on where this goes, if we follow a trend line here, we're probably looking for, if this is a true push, with significant volume, we may be heading back to 94, 9,300. So this is going to be really interesting to keep an eye on as the night goes on. Likely somebody else is likely waking up in other parts of the world, and it's going to be pushing this price down. It's continuing to go down. And again, I'm looking at the GDAX chart. Right now I'm looking at the 1 hour chart. But let's just take a look at the 15-minute and see, wow, look at that. That is unbelievable. Look at that. That's amazing. So yeah, so likely what's happening when Bitcoin goes up, people buy into Bitcoin and ride the wave up. When Bitcoin starts to go down, people don't buy back into alts. People buy into their coveted either USD or whatever your local currency is. They cash out. So that's potentially what's going to be happening here. So the statement usually is, when Bitcoin goes up, my alts go down. When Bitcoin goes down, my alts go down. And that's the reason why. That's the reason why. Because the big market players, they cash out of their altcoins when Bitcoin goes up, and they cash out completely. They go into Tether, whatever it may be. They do that when Bitcoin goes down. So so likely we're in a very volatile moment. And so altcoins are just going to continue to bleed a little bit. Even Tron is only up 0.4%, but you can see there was a little bit of green here in my watch list. Now every single coin is in red, and I fully expect Tron to turn red here in just a moment. It's only up 3 Satoshis at 758. So it's just going to take it to go down to 750 for that one to turn red as well. Yes, so we're down below 9,400. There's probably going to be a little bit of support here, but yeah, I'm really looking for Bitcoin to really find the support here at about 93.50. Really surprised that it went down that quick, that fast, but like they say, you take the stairs up, you take the elevator down. Lately, it has been almost the opposite. We've been taking the elevator up and we've been taking the stairs up. But like they say, these moves, as natural as this appeared, because of the volume that we have had, as naturally as this appeared, more than likely there was big market players that were just letting normal players purchase all the way up here to the top, and then look what just happened here. So significant volume, 1,257 just in this 15-minute period that was sold, changed hands. I guess there was coins that were purchased here, right? But we're looking at a a change of 1266 and rising. So this is increasing. We're definitely finding some support here, and if we're taking a look at previous support levels, we're looking here at this level based on previous support as being our support. We saw major support that happened here at this level back a few hours ago here at 9,300 or so, 9,360. More than likely, we're going to see that support here. So we'll continue to see what happens. You can see there's a tiny green candle that's appearing that we're going to see this price move up a little bit. So, okay, let's see here. One of the last that I'm going to look at, and I don't really like to look at these charts when Bitcoin is making major moves like this, because technical analysis really does kind of go out the window. So let me look at at a big picture here on WPR that's on Binance. It's one of those fairly new coins. You can't listen to the TTM squeeze indicator because it's so new on this exchange. We see that it did bottom out here about 1147, and it's been sort of moving up. But with Bitcoin making the moves that it's made, it's suffered pretty heavily. For a support level on this, at least at the moment, it looks like historically there has been some support here at the 1500 level. So if it does continue to move down, I expect it to find a lot of support there. If it falls through this level and it falls through 1500, the next level, based on these resistance levels that we have had, to take it down to right around 1300. So really depends on what this is able to do at the level that it's currently at. It'd be really fantastic to see it just continue to make waves moving upward. But right now, it looks like 1900 was a really good run. When this opened on Binance, it opened at 1800. So for it to jump to 1900, that's pretty significant. We see this long wick up here at the top, but as most new coins that get listed on exchanges, you see a lot of dumping action occurring, a lot of people selling their coins, taking it down. We saw this close at 1300. We saw a little bit of a cup happening. Some of you may have seen this as a potential for a cup and handle, which I suppose could be true. The cup and handle typically has a little bit of a correction here before it jumps up, and it did do that. So we did see that price action move up to a high point, and now it's going to be basically moving through a correction phase. Again, I really hate to give any advice here based on the price that Bitcoin is doing, but if we're looking at a correction, we could be looking at a 1, 2, 3 back down here to the 1500 mark before it picks back up. So we could see an increase in price over the next day or two. Definitely be looking to take profits on your altcoins if Bitcoin is going to be so volatile. Sentiment in the altcoin market is decreased over the last day because of Bitcoin moving up. So that's something to keep in mind. Altcoin season has returned, but as quickly as it comes back is as quick as it can go away. So you need to make sure that you don't get greedy, you take profits, and you're able to you know, you're able to take some profits and just don't be greedy. With Verge, you know, this is one that had a really good run. You know, it had a really good run and up to a couple days ago, capped out at 1450. I actually thought that Tron was going to hit 1500. It fell short. It definitely had some, you know, some decent news, as quirky as it might be for the cryptocurrency market to actually see, you know, real use cases appear in the real world. You know, even as illicit as it might be, it's still a use case. And I think that's really great. I think Verge has some potential, even though it's a little bit of a meme coin. It's definitely the whale's playground to drive the price up. Verge is one more example. Let me close my watch list. This is going to be the last coin that I do for this evening. So let's just take a look here. You know, going back, we saw this massive run. This happened on Cardano. This happened on Verge. This happened on Tron. It happened to a few others as well. But these in particular, you know, again, when you see the massive rise in price, cash out, get out, walk away. Don't try and play the waves, right? Unless you're an experienced trader and you're able to buy, you know, you're selling up here. You're saying, okay, well, I'm going to buy at 50% the value. So you would have bought at 1,000. And that would have been okay. You just have to remember, if you are going to be that person, you're going to play those waves, you need to be able to understand how the market moves and how waves play. Because if you just hold, you're losing out of potential profits. If you don't play the waves properly, you could just be plain old losing, right? So you need to be able to recognize that when something does 1,000 to 2,000%, you know, Verge was one where you could have picked up at 56, 51 Satoshis long, long ago, right? Before it did its massive, massive run to 2000. Think about what kind of gains that is. If you purchase back here and you're still holding, that's fine. You know, you can take that and you can sell it, or you can keep it, whichever you'd like. But definitely we're here to make money. We're here for the technology, of course. You know, a lot of people are here just for quick money. Some people are here for you know, for the technology. But if you're in cryptocurrency, the keyword there is currency. We're here to accumulate Bitcoin. So when you see something do a massive spike, you want to move out. You know, of course, Verge was in a little bit of a squeeze. This was a really good place to make a purchase. You know, down here at 350, you know, it just continued to move down and down and down. Then they did their massive marketing campaign and things, and just really started to move up. And you know, this is a good example. And I have really close friends of mine that purchased Verge, and they purchased about right around 1,000 Satoshis, you know, somewhere in this level right here. And you know, they were holding it through all this because they thought it was going to go higher. And that's the kicker. You know, you have to realize when you have decent profits, and you know, we're not looking for, you know, 1,000, 2,000% profits. Now, of course, if you're able to pick up on one of those waves early on, that's great. But if you're seeing something already moving, if you see something that's already making big moves, and you purchase in this area, you're not going to be getting 1,000% profit. You know, you're going to be looking for like 10 to 20%. Be happy with it and move on to something else. You know, right now, Verge, it's on sale. It's on major sale right now. I think that it could probably go back down here to 550 though. I may look to make a purchase in Verge. You know, as much as I hate saying it, I might look at Verge at 550 and then doing a quick flip. You know, selling somewhere around 670. So you know, playing inside of these fib levels is you know, it has been pretty profitable in the past. You can see right here we fell through. You buy here, it spiked up. You sell here. You play right here inside of these waves. You know, and you want to do it when it first hits, right? So if it spiked up and it's coming down, it's probably going to fall through, and that's exactly what it did. So you might be thinking, well, what if I buy now and it goes up to this 770 mark? Okay, well, potentially, but right now this candle looks like it's going to continue to fall through. We're on the day candle. You do not want to make trade-based decisions based on what the candle is currently at. You want to look at candle closure. You want to take a look at what the candle looks like right now. Because, no, sorry, not right now. You want to take a look at what the candle looks like after it closes, because that's when you're going to make the most informed decision. So if this falls through and it goes down to 550 or so, I might think about picking up a little bit and doing a little bit of a flip, but chances are this is going to continue to just drive all the way back to where it started, which is at about 350. And I hate to say it because again, I really think that Verge had some decent news that came out. But as everything in the cryptocurrency world, you buy the rumor, you sell the news, and these days you sell the news before the news is released. You want to ride the wave up, you want to get out, and then you just kind of want to wait and see. But it has fallen down to a level where I might be comfortable making a small entry in Verge. So, okay, well, I think that's all I've got time for this evening, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave some comments. I haven't been able to check YouTube to see if there's any comments in here, but I really do appreciate you all joining. I hope that you were able to learn a few things. Again, we're here for education. Really big on educating the market because an educated community is a good community, and we want to make sure that everybody is able to make good decisions with the money that you're investing in this market. Nobody's here to lose money. Everybody's here to make some gains, and you need to be able to recognize where some of these market movements are. So if you didn't hear anything that I said tonight, just remember this: be patient, take in positions as early as possible. Use some of these indicators that I've talked about this evening, that I'm going to continue talking about in the days and weeks to come. And yeah, just be patient. Look at a wide level. Don't trade on the 15-minute chart, 10-minute chart, 5-minute chart unless you are truly in scalping mode and you are just buying and selling like a crazy person. If you're looking for your massive gains are going to be looking, from a really high level. You want to look at your day charts. You want to look at, even the 1-hour chart's not too bad, right? But the day chart is really where you're going to really see where momentum is going. And right now you can see Verge is moving down in momentum. And until that flips around, it's just going to continue moving downward more than likely, or sideways at a minimum. So, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining. Thanks for sticking it out with me this whole time here. I hope you all have a good night, good day, wherever you are in the world. I will catch you all later.